You're listening to REAcast, a podcast of the Southwest Florida Real Estate Investment Association. REAcast brings together a variety of real estate entrepreneurs from all over the world to share tips and ideas. The core purpose of the Southwest Florida REIA is to help members become more profitable and successful through networking, education, and empowerment. Here are your hosts, Jeff Tamarello and Michael Lyons.
Thanks, guys. Hey, good to be with you. My name is Brit, Foshee, and I just want to thank Jeff and Mike for having me out. The topic of today is new investors. What is it like to be a new investor getting started in real estate? And so if you're an experienced investor, feel free to chime in. Maybe you have different feedback, but I'm going to speak to those today who are just trying to get started. And I wanted to start by telling you a little about my start, which was my entrepreneurial journey started by flipping bubble gum. There was a convenient little machine in there, and it sold gum. There were 5 pieces, and I realized that I could buy it for 75 cents, and I could sell each piece for $0.25, and I could make a profit. And my first investor was my parents, because they lent me the 75 cents, and so I had to give them $0.25, and that's how I kind of did my first deal. And so as I progressed, I started just doing bigger things. And so I went from candy to electronics. I did jewelry. I started doing like machinery and lawnmowers, and then I did cars. And then about 15 years ago, I bought my first real estate project. And I was just joking with the guys earlier and said that if you had shown me that deal today, I would never have done it. All right. That tells you how much you can learn in 15 years. But I was able to go in and flip this project. If you guys know where the Villas is, I'm sure most of you guys know. It was off of a Gorham Avenue back there. It was a little pool home, 3-2. I bought for $85,000, if you can imagine that. That home is probably worth $400,000 today. But the only way that I made that deal work was I did all the labor myself, because if I had to hire a contractor, I would have lost money. And I had done enough research, even as a youngin', to figure out that if I just could hang out there for 2 years, that I could sell the property and I could keep all the money. I didn't have to give anything to the IRS. And so I was literally watching the calendars click by. I got a buyer lined up, and I lived there 2 years and 1 day and collected $40,000 on my first flip. And I thought I was rich. I thought I was gonna have my own TV show. I just thought I had made it, right? And I was gonna be the next Chip and Joanna Gaines. And so that's not how it worked, all right? So from there, essentially, what I did was I knew that I wanted rentals. I knew I wanted to build wealth. I just didn't want to create cash. And so I sort of took the money that I had, and I had a little bit extra cash saved, and I kind of split it into 2, more or less. And I went and started taking half the capital, and I started investing in flips to try to generate more capital. And then I took the other capital, and I started buying rentals, fixing them up, putting renters in there, and then refinancing and try to getting as much of my capital out as I could. And that's essentially how I got my start. And today I own a decent portfolio of rental properties, Airbnbs. We flip, depending on the market, we flip anywhere from 20 to 50 properties a year here locally, Lee County, Collier County, and occasionally Charlotte County. And so that's me. That's my story. That's how I got here today. And so it is kind of surreal to be talking to you, because at one point I knew absolutely nothing. I knew nothing about real estate. It's important to note that my parents didn't I didn't have some nest egg that they hooked me up with. My dad didn't teach me real estate. So what I like to say is that no one gave me help, but I had to go get help. And there's a big difference, right? I knew that I needed help, but no one just gave it to me. I had to go find it and search it out. And so if you're new in here today, that'd be my feedback to you is you're going to need help in this business. It's not a matter of if. You will need help. And it's likely you're here because people aren't just handing it out. So you got to go get it. You have to go seek out the help. And that's what I was willing to do. And that's what my encouragement would be for you if you're just getting started out. So here's what I did is I put together the 10 commandments of what I would consider the things that I would want to know if I was just starting out, all right? And now, these are the commandments that I would go back and tell myself. If you were to poll some of the more seasoned investors in here, they may have different commandments, and they may say, that's terrible advice. This is just what I would tell me, and if you were to approach me, this is what I would tell you. So commandment number 1 is deal over money. deal over money. And this is the idea that the deal is more important than the money. And when I first started out, I was poor. I didn't have any money. And so I just thought, like, I had this scarcity mindset that the most important thing I needed to find was the money. And the more you do real estate, the more deals you do, the more you'll realize there is money everywhere. All right? The money is not the problem. In fact, you do a couple deals, you're going to get calls and calls of people trying to give you money, or they're not going to give you for free, but they're trying to lend you money, right? But you don't get those same calls for deals. No one's blowing me up 10 times a day trying to give me a great deal, right? Like, deals are hard to find. Money is easy to find. So my first commandment, if you're just getting started out, is focus on the deal and not the money, all right? Commandment number 2 is you got to get a discount 3 times, all right? And this is I see a lot of investors go wrong here. You got to get a discount on the property. You got to get a discount on the labor, and a bonus if you can get a discount on the list, right? If you can get a discount, maybe you know someone that'll list it for cheap, or maybe you're an agent yourself. If you just get a discount on the property and you can't find discounts anywhere else, that deal is going to be very thin. You cannot pay a retail construction company to do your rehab and expect to come out on top. It just doesn't work. At least in my experience, the numbers don't work. And so you've got to find a discount as many ways as possible. That's number 2. Number 3 is no one hits a home run in their first at bat. I've never seen it. I've never seen someone step in to real estate and their first deal is an absolute home run. So if that's true, then what I would suggest, contrary to a lot of the gurus, guys like Grant Cardone, this guy's telling you your first deal should be an apartment building. That is bullshit. Do not buy an apartment building if you've never done a deal before, okay? Because you want to hit singles and then doubles and then triples and work your way to the home run. Because I've never seen someone hit a home run on their first deal, all right? Get some at-bats under your belt before you swing for the fences. And I'm all for swinging for the fences, but start small. Number 4 is hard money ain't easy. Hard money ain't easy, all right? Hard money is good. It can be great for good deals, but if you have never had experience with hard money, you don't understand points, and you don't understand how interest works, and you don't understand how that money might be due back in 12 months, even if your project's not finished. You need to make sure that you are aware of how this type of lending works, all right? It is, in my opinion, it is really only for people who are responsible and even, I would say, sophisticated. It is not for newbies. And so if you are just getting started and you want to get a hard money loan, I would make sure you have some sort of mentor making sure you know what you're getting yourself into before you sign those papers, all right? I use hard money. It's a great thing. I'm not saying don't use it. I'm saying make sure you know what you're doing before you get hard money, all right?
Add to that, Brit, one thing you told me just to go on with that is, obviously hard money is a great way to, if you can have the cash to do it, but when you're going to assess a property and you're got a game plan for the rehab, tack on 20-30% above what you think it's going to be every time.
Yep.
Just because it's never what you think it is. When you put the wall up, when you get a project started, there's always something you don't catch in the inspection every time. So again, if you end up not going up that 20-30% higher than you thought, then you're money ahead. But like if you do your calculations and you're buying something and you're taking hard money into consideration of getting it, there's a big cost to have it. Make sure your cost for repairs and remodel is very conservative in the high end. I mean, just,
absolutely.
You're going to find stuff that you need to rehab. You know what I'm talking about. There's always something you didn't plan on or an issue that you don't see.
Yeah, I mean, and there is no certainty on when you're going to sell your property, right? So if you're going to flip it, and there's no certainty when you're going to complete your rehab. So if your rehab is supposed to be 3 months and it turns into 6 months and you're paying $2,000 a month, that's an extra $6,000. Well, now if you had planned on a 45-day on market and now it's 90 days or 6 months, I mean, those expenses can get out of hand really quickly and really kill a deal really quickly. Again, a great tool to use. To me, it's not for beginners unless you have someone kind of helping you navigate the process, all right? And hard money, and excuse any lenders in here, I know we just had one, their job is to get you to do a loan with them, all right? So proceed with caution when you're speaking with them. I would find someone that's third-party neutral, have them look over the documents, have them look over your deal and say, hey, do you think this works, all right? That would be my feedback. Go for it.
The group is to do that. That's why we're meeting.
Yep.
A deal you're not sure about, call one of us.
Yeah.
And say, what do you think? Now, I'd be happy to speak to them about it.
Yeah.
I've had multiple times investors call me on more on the rental side of it, hey, is this really great for this? And I'll say, hey, yeah, sure does, or nope, you're out of your mind, you're never going to get that. And then the cash flow doesn't work. So talk to people before you do it. Don't be shy about it.
Yeah, guys, I know many stories of people who have lost a lot of money trying to do this. And the TV shows really make it look a lot easier than it is. And I think I said this on the video, but you know, a Navy pilot who gets into a plane and flies a jet, that's probably pretty easy to him, actually. If I was to step into that jet, we're all going to die, all right? There's no shot in hell that I'm flying that plane. And it just comes down to experience. Like for me, flipping properties is very easy. I don't think about it much. I'm not nervous. Like I know what a deal is and what it isn't. But when I first got started, not knowing what I know now could have really hurt me financially. And I just want to be the person that tells you really the opposite of what everyone else says, which is you can get hurt in this game. You can lose money. I've seen it happen. I know people who are currently losing money with houses on the market that they can't sell, first-time flipper. All right, so this isn't something that you want. This isn't a hobby like pickleball where you just go out and have fun and make some friends. Like this is something that could really hurt you and your family financially. I just want to be like the person that's telling you the real stuff, right? So number 5, this one I expect to get some like pushback on. Rentals aren't for making money. Rentals are not for making money. I had this thought that like I was going to buy rentals and they were going to magically pay me all this cash flow and I was going to get like 10 and I was going to retire and live happily ever after. And what I found out is if you use debt on your rentals, you are not going to make a lot of money on your rentals, at least not in this market, all right? And so rentals are not for making money. What they are for is they're for depreciation. So they are for taxes, and they are for appreciation. And so I'm going to give you a little self-disclosure, some private information here. I would say roughly 50 to 60% of the wealth I have today has come from appreciation on my rentals. All right, a significant amount of my wealth has come from rentals. So you do make money, but you don't make it monthly. You make it in the end. And I haven't realized that, by the way. Like I still own those properties. So the only way I can access that money is to go get a loan on those properties or a second loan if I already have one, right? And so rentals are not for making money. They're for appreciation and they're for depreciation when it comes to taxes. Others might have a different opinion. That's my opinion. That's number 5. You agree? You agree? I mean, yeah, guys, toilets and construction costs, and it just, when you finally do all the math, they rarely make a significant amount of cash flow. At least not much where you better just go get a job. It's better. Yeah.
I guess that's what I was going to ask. You're just saying they don't make money in the cash flow portion because of prices and where they're at and stuff?
Correct. Now, like, look, if you're going to self-manage your properties, you're going to do all the work yourself. You're going to show up and change the toilets, and maybe there's more room there. I don't know. I'm not willing to do that. So I have to pay those expenses. And at the end of the year, I just don't see a lot of net income. And I own a decent amount of rentals. So.
But it's a function, too, of the debt. Like, you're at the point where if you have loans and equity, you should trade out a couple and just go debt-free.
Yeah.
And then you're what I call anti-fragile. You're not, you know, I don't care if the market crashes if I don't have a mortgage. You know, my joking, even if Mad Max shows up and it's the zombie apocalypse, I can probably get a bucket of tomatoes for somebody to live in my house.
Yep.
You know, so, you know, that's like.
There's different opinions on that even too. Like, I don't really want to own real estate free and clear. Personally, I don't want to. But that is a way to get them to cash flow, is if you have the capital to pay off a property, absolutely it will cash flow at that point. But if you're using debt, again, just my opinion, in this market, it's not going to happen. So. Number 5, so number 6 is don't be lax with tax, which is just this idea that you've got to make sure you understand the basics of tax code when you're getting into real estate. Because just as an example, if you make 40 or 50 grand on a flip, that's going to get taxed as ordinary income. All right, I'm not a CPA. And if you make a lot of money, you're going to give about half of that back to the government. You need to make sure you understand that, right? And so on the contrary, if you keep that property for a year, if you got tenants in it and you sell it, now that becomes long-term capital gains, and that's taxed at a significantly less rate, right? And so strategically, you need to know these things because this could be thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars of decisions that you're making. And so I'll just give you like a real-life example. If we see a flip that's taking close to that like year mark, what we'll do is we'll finish it. Instead of realizing those gains really quickly, we'll throw a tenant in there for 6, 8, 12 months, whatever, hold it for that beyond the year, and then sell it. And typically we're saving $20, $25, $30, sometimes $40,000 depending on the nut in taxes just from holding it a few extra months, right? And if I didn't understand tax code, I would be losing that $30, $40, $50,000. So this is a game where you want to make sure you understand the tax implications of what you're doing before you do it, not while you're in the middle of it. Does that make sense? Don't be lax with tax. Number 6 is, I call this one flip your marriage. All right, so this is, I actually really believe if you're just getting started, this is great if you're single. I did 2 or 3 of these when I was single, is to actually do a live-in flip, all right? But if you want to flip your marriage, you can try it with your marriage, okay? You can try it, if you have a partner, you want to see it, test your marriage, see how things are going, try it with that. And I learned really quickly that I was either going to flip the house or flip the marriage. And so I decided to keep the marriage, and I sold the house, and we got out of it, flipped it while we were out of it, and finished it up. And so I'll just warn you, if you're married, it's a little trickier. If you can get the wife on board, the husband on board, I think it's a fantastic way to get started. You're right there, you're on site, you can see everything, you can manage everything, and then you get this 2 years sort of live in it for 2 of the last 5 years, you can sell it for tax-free gains. I think it's a tremendous opportunity for those just getting started. You can do the same thing with a duplex all the way up to a quadplex. I think it's a great opportunity. Just be careful with your marriages. That can be a threat to those. So, number 8 is, this is just my experience again. Number 8 for me is lending is going to equal a bad ending. I do not lend money. When you start doing real estate and you start doing deals, you start making money, you're going to start getting approached, and people are going to ask you for money for all kinds of different things. Every time it's the best deal ever. Like the best deal you've ever seen. But my experience is this. I have lost money lending to people, okay? I hate to say that. I don't want to say that out loud. I want to just say, like, I knew exactly what I was doing and had all the right documents in order, and I went after him, and my lawyer got it all back. But that's not what happened. I lost it. I lost money, okay? So the second thing is even when I made money, I didn't like the feeling I got with that money being out on the streets without me being in control of it, all right? So for some of you guys, you can do it and feel better about it, but I've just made a hard boundary in my life for like my own sanity and for the protection of my capital. I don't lend money, all right? The only exception that I've done to this recently is occasionally if I do have a free and clear property and I need to get creative with it to sell it, occasionally I'll hold a first position mortgage and do like a seller carryback. I feel really safe doing that, but that's really for me the only exception. I don't like lending money.
Well, and I do lend money, but I'll mention what I think is important if you're interested in doing that. You get a really good attorney.
Yep.
That's you have to have a good attorney. And you evaluate the properties if you're buying it. And I'm as cheap as it gets to buy property.
Yep.
So what you lend on a real low, you lend at 60% value. They default, thank you. I think you want that anyway, and I'll go and put the interest on it. But you've got to lend right. So if it's worth 100, you don't lend 100. Again, it's just easy numbers, but I'd lend 60, 70%, maybe 70% if there's not much rehab.
Yeah.
Go 60, 65%, and you're safe.
Yeah.
You go above that, and then there's a huge rehab cost, and it's unfinished or whatever, it could be a nightmare. Right? Absolutely. But I would evaluate it as if you're buying it yourself. So if you do that way, you're usually pretty safe. But if not, and not everyone can. Your process could be different. Again, an attorney can help with this, but you need to know who you're lending to.
Yep.
So if they've never done a rehab before, or they've never bought or owned real estate before, and you want to be the first guinea pig, no thanks. I wouldn't do it. I mean, if you're new here, you want to get into it, I would JV with somebody. I'm going to partner up. I wouldn't. If someone came to me and has never done a deal before, and hey, I want $100,000 to do this deal, and they had no experience at all, I would say I'm probably going to be foreclosing on you going into this.
Yeah.
And you don't want to do that.
Yeah.
That's
Totally, yeah. Again, guys like Mike, they can do it. Like I don't even want to foreclose on anyone. Like I don't even want to go through that process. Just like the idea of that just bothers me. And so, yeah, and like there's so many lenders out there right now they'll do 10-1 or 10-2, and it's like I want way more than that. So just go see them, right? Like, you're better off with people who will do it cheaper, and they're probably going to lend to you at like 90% LTC, right? And I'm not going to do that either. So for me, I just stay away from it, especially if you're just getting started. I would not lend money. Number 9. Oh, so I really like this one. This is one of my favorite ones out of the bunch here. And number 9 is cash is not trash, and debt is not dumb. All right. So when you hear people talk about cash and you talk about debt, they usually land in one of two parties. Like, you've got the Dave Ramseys of the world that say cash, 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 debt is dumb, you should buy everything cash, and you should run your life on cash. And then you've got the sort of the Robert Kiyosakis and maybe the Grant Cardones of the world that they say you should not, cash is trash. As soon as you get it, you should put it into an asset, and you should own as many assets and have as little cash as possible. I think both of those are idiotic, all right? And that's why I think cash is not trash and debt is not dumb. You need a lot of both of them. And that's how I like to sort of manage my finances. And so anytime my cash goes up and my debt goes down, I get nervous. Anytime my debt goes up and my cash goes down, I get nervous. For me, I want to have as much debt as I possibly can and as much cash simultaneously as I possibly can. And that, to me, is the best way to manage your finances, particularly in real estate. Again, there's clearly polarizing views on this. People have very different opinions. But if it was me talking to my younger self, this is what I would say. Get as much debt as you can while simultaneously stacking up as much cash as you can. That is the best way to run a real estate operation. I have a lot of debt. And because of my stack of cash, I can service that debt for years and years and years and years. Like, I'm really in no jeopardy of ever defaulting on my debt, right? Because this is simultaneously growing. And then this is my risk, right, against deflation, my cash is. And my debt is my hedge against inflation, right? And I want to kind of keep those balanced so that whether we see an inflationary spike or a deflationary spike, I'm really there to take advantage of either. Does that make sense? Cash is not trash, debt is not dumb. And the last one is losing money in real estate is not the worst thing that can happen, all right? Losing money is not the worst thing that can happen. Losing friendships, relationships, and losing yourself, those are the worst things that can happen in real estate. And I see it time and time again, and I'll just be really vulnerable and say, I have done it myself, all right? About 3 years ago, I kind of got into sort of this addicted to the deal, addicted to money, addicted to the game, and I had basically a crisis, right? Where I had to like just put my work on pause and go, I need to like take care of myself. And I hadn't been doing that. I hadn't been paying attention to me. I hadn't been paying attention to my family, my wife, my kids. And so as awesome as this game is and as financially beneficial as it can be for you, there is nothing more precious than you, your life, your family, your marriage, your relationships. And so money is not the only thing that you can lose in this business if you're not careful. Your integrity, your word, your honesty, all those things matter significantly. And that's the 10th commandment. Those are the 10 things that I would say I would tell my younger self if I was just getting started. And so, yeah, that's it. Listen, I have those written down if you want them. So I printed out a few copies. And yeah, I'm just going to leave them here. You guys can come grab them at the end. And I also have my information on here. So if you want to reach out to me and contact me, have any questions. That was like really quick fire, and I didn't go into the weeds too much. But if you want to go into the weeds on any of that, feel free to reach out, and I'd love to connect more. So.
Got a question?
Sure.
You mentioned you have Airbnbs. What I've seen is a drastic drop-off in demand. What's your experience Airbnb rental demand?
This concludes this edition of RIAcast. Be sure to subscribe to receive our next episode. You can also subscribe at our website, www.swflreia.com. See you at a meeting soon. Please let us know if you have a suggestion for a future episode.